Last portion of our executive session. Normally we would be adjourning that and moving on to our regular session, but we, at the end of this, will be not closing our official meeting. We're going to reconvene our executive session to discuss the boathouse fire litigation, and then we'll close it when we're all done. So let's get rolling with this, and we will start with our we are not starting with our commission photo session, which we've already done. Roll call on today, February 16th, 2016. All three commissioners are present. And we do have a public comment period. Does anybody sign up for that? 0 people signed up for that. All right. In that case, consent agenda. Gentlemen, any discussion about that?
No, I have nothing.
Okay.
A motion to approve consent agenda items A through F.
Sorry about that, Diane. And hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and moving on to our action item. I guess, Brian, you're up.
This is the fastest.
Poof, you weren't ready, were you?
No, I wasn't. You guys are moving fast.
A motion authorizing the executive director to execute modification 2016-1 to the interlocal agreement for facilities within the waterfront district with the city of Bellingham to revise the alignment of the Granary Avenue and Laurel Street.
Thank you, Diane. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brian Brown, Director of Environmental Programs. This interlocal agreement with the City of Bellingham was part of a package of documents that was approved by the City Council and the Port Commission in December of 2013, which included the sub-area plan, the development regulations for the waterfront district, and this interlocal agreement, which is really the contract between the city and the port, outlining what our individual responsibilities are for building facilities in the waterfront district. So for the Port of Bellingham, it's the environmental cleanup work and marine infrastructure. For the City of Bellingham, it is roads, arterials, parks, and utility types of infrastructure. So when that package of documents was approved in 2013, this was prior to having a developer on board, and we did anticipate as a group that there would be refinements and modifications to that agreement based on a number of factors, including input from developers. So when we entered into the master development agreement with Harcourt, the Port and City cooperatively worked with Harcourt to say, here's the plan that we have. We are looking at maybe some modifications to the road alignment that would facilitate your development. How do you feel about that? And based on a number of discussions, we've agreed with the city staff to modify the alignment of the granary. And that's shown here on this figure, where it would come off of Roeder Avenue and go straight to the end of where it intersects with Laurel, turn and 90 degree and go back out to Cornwall. And that'll be the main arterial that the City of Bellingham will build in this first phase of infrastructure development. So this modification to the interlocal agreement really impacts the city mostly, in the sense that this is their obligation to perform and build this infrastructure. The port and city staff have agreed that this would this system works. It's a change, but it still fits with the overall plan. And the other component is with this modification, we've removed some obligations for them to build pieces that are not as part of this alignment now. So that would be a change to take out part of Below Dell, which is no longer part of this obligation, and then a part of the commercial street loop as well. The other part to note of this is that the original plan indicated that the city would build Laurel as an interim street to like a 3/4 standard, so maybe only a sidewalk on one side, and this plan actually modifies that, and they will build both Granary and Laurel as a full standard, fully built facility. And with that, I would be happy to entertain any questions.
Are both streets the same size? It doesn't look that way on the map here.
Yeah, and this is a kind of a cartoon. Yeah, they'll be building cross sections that show much more detail as they get into engineering. Yeah, they are designed to be full arterial streets. The widths might change based on where they need turning lanes or the things like that, but they are full service, full arterial streets.
Thank you.
Does this hook into Roeder Avenue in any way?
It does, yeah. On the left-hand side there, where right on Granary, right by the G on the street there, that's where it connects to Roeder. It's prior to the transition of Roeder to Chestnut Bridge.
So will it come around the front of the granary, the water side of the granary connect, or behind the
No,
granary?
it'd be on the backside.
Okay.
And
Out of all these plans I've looked at, and it always comes to mind is, we've got an industrial area to service over there.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do for a truck route to take containers in and so on and so forth? I haven't seen anything that's going to take care of that.
Well, I think that the Cornwall, and I could make sure I clarify this and get you the right answer, but I believe that Cornwall Avenue connecting with Chestnut down to Roeder is the current truck route, and the improvements that the city just did on the Chestnut Bridge this summer increased the capacity to allow for that to continue to be the truck route.
With the exception that since the time I was a kid, that was two lanes. Now they've got the turn lane on both sides there. I'm kind of trying to figure out how you're going to get a big truck around.
Turn
that
lane on
corner.
what, two sides of what?
Well, you had 2 lanes. You didn't have turn lanes in the middle of those streets like you do now. So now you have a 3-lane street that was once a 2-lane, and that 2-lane street gave you more room for those trucks to make that corner
You mean
at the bicycle shop right there.
Chestnut? Okay, so Chestnut's still 3 lanes, because there's 2 going up the hill and 1 coming back until you get to Cornwall. It switches to 3 going up the hill.
Yeah, it's Cornwall there where it turns on.
Cornwall's still 2 and wide. My bigger concern with that is just the corner, because it's still pretty wide, but, yeah, the corner at Cornwall and Chestnut, but.
So-
I can look into that. So if specifically your question is the corner at where Colshan Bike Shop is, at the intersection of Cornwall and Chestnut.
Right. And my thinking is, as we're laying things out there to service these areas down there, I'm wondering why we aren't laying out a better truck route to our North Terminal site while all this is being done. Instead of getting to the later down the road in the future and finding out that Cornwall to Chestnut is not, enough, for the trucks to.
Yeah, I'll look into that and see I know there's been a number of traffic surveys and traffic studies done on the traffic patterns for the whole waterfront district. I mean, this is this particular modification is for the downtown waterfront, which is the more urban area. But as you're talking about it closer to the shipping terminal where you're going to have industrial usage, I don't think that the Cornwall. I'll get back to you to make sure I get this right, but I don't think that there's any kind of choke or problem with that intersection that you're referring to at the corner of Cornwall and Chestnut. But we can look at the traffic studies to make sure that was taken into account, and if not, we can get back to you.
Okay, because I know in the future, if we get some things going back on the waterfront over there at that site, we're going to have some trucks.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't think the folks in town are going to be very happy with those trucks up in the middle of town. It's just at that corner. It's going to create problems.
Right.
So looking forward,
Yeah.
I would
okay.
certainly like to see if there isn't something that can be fit into this that would alleviate a problem there, or maybe there isn't a problem. I don't know.
Sure.
Thank you, Brian.
If I could intervene, Mr. Commissioner, that is the same truck route that has always been there, and the city has not decommissioned it as a truck route, so it's still designed to accept truck traffic. What we wouldn't want to do is put that kind of semi-traffic through this development. It's really not designed to have large volume truck traffic through it. It's supposed to be more neighborhood, mixed use, that sort of thing. But that truck route so it's actually still in very good shape and very perfect, is that the truck route goes around the site just like it always has and still intact.
I understand that, Adam. I'm just saying that I think you're still going to create the traffic is going to be a situation uptown where we have more people now, more traffic than we did before when that was heavily used as a truck route. And what I'm getting at is as time goes on in the future, I don't think that truck route that we have now is going to do the job, and I'm wondering if there can't be some drop down. And I'm not talking about going on to Granary as a truck route, but to follow maybe the railroad tracks till you get around over to Cornwall under there, something like that, to drop down there somewhere to alleviate having to go up over the bridge they had to replace from the heavy traffic beating it down. That was what I was getting at, was that while we were doing something here is a better alternative for a truck route available in that area.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
So the Laurel Street, Granary Avenue, you said they're going to be fully built out, so like a complete street design?
know that that's a specific term, the complete streets. It will be built to their full standard, with sidewalks on both sides, bike lanes if they determine that that's part of it. I don't know that they're building them to the complete street standard, but this was going back to the agreement. The original agreement was that interim Laurel was going to be built just to a 3/4 standard, and that this they've committed to doing the entire the full standard.
Okay,
but I
thanks.
can get back to you on what the complete streets component is.
So the space I'm looking at between, I know this is not to scale or anything, but the space between Granary Avenue and the hatched area, which I'm assuming is the park space, the public space, that's not a lot of white space in there. What's the conversation happening between the hatched area and Granary Avenue?
Yeah, Harcourt has looked at, and they have some ideas on where they would want to, how they would want to build this out. That configuration of that park, that's the park area. You're right. That was a placeholder as well. This will probably be modified as the park footprint gets designed a little bit more thoroughly, and as there's input from Harcourt. So that actual configuration of the park might change a little bit, but Harcourt has indicated they anticipate probably one building only between Granary and the park. So a relatively small retail type of buildings in that footprint. They acknowledge that that's a very limited space, but they've seen these and participated in these modifications and feel like this will work with their plan.
Okay, so the bigger point to be made here is that and I recall it was one of Jim Jorgensen's first meetings about this, and I in fact asked him a question at that meeting. It was held at the farmers market, and it was about the street alignments. This is a pretty big departure from what was in the agreed upon master plan that was adopted by us, at least in 2012. So what has happened to get away from the Blodell, the angled streets, to this design here where we have the matching, these streets obviously match the old alignment of the old CBD?
Yeah, this was not necessarily a change to the overall street grid at all. This is a change to the city's obligation. So this is a refinement and a modification to that first Granary to Laurel. And the removal of Blodell is removal of the city's obligation to build that. And it's more that it becomes an interior type of street, if that's the configuration that stays. There probably will be more modifications based on this. We've worked with the city and Harcourt to say, based on the first few phases of development that's going to happen down there, does this modification work with your vision and your plan? And it does for all three parties. So rather than reopening the overall street grid discussion, this was a modification for this first phase of work. And then as projects come online, will probably be more modifications or changes as that becomes more clear.
I didn't anticipate this question, but Dan's digging through. Do you have that?
I was just looking at some of the original drawings.
And Brian, please don't think I'm putting just you on the spot. I think I'm putting a lot of people on the spot with this question. This is a pretty big departure from what the public had thought that everybody had agreed upon, because if I recall, there was no street like Granary going across the site in that particular alignment.
Right.
And Laurel only coming down some of that distance.
Right.
And then all the other streets were angling at a more like the on this image here, what you would see at West Champion and that area.
So yeah, because this goes over the lines around also there. I see what you're saying.
So what's going to happen in the space just to the where you've got the large box where it says Commercial Street Green, that site back there? What's the conversation happening there? Because obviously somebody thought that this alignment would satisfy a better outcome in the space that Harcourt's got access to. So what are we looking at that's being proposed for that?
There's still an anticipation that the commercial bridge would be built by the city at a future phase. So all of the street alignments that were part of the original phase, aside from Blodell and the commercial loop at the very end here at this, I wish the annotator's not working too well, but if you can see my mouse moving on here, this is the commercial. This was the commercial loop. Mm-hmm. The Blodell to interim Laurel is the only obligations that have changed. So commercial bridge at a future phase would be built. What the exact alignment and where that would tie into these new modified street grid is, locations has yet to be determined. But there still is an anticipation that there would be an access from commercial over the railroad tracks down into the site, and that'll be designed as we get further down the road. But this hatched area is also considered park space. Again, not in its current configuration, but we wanted to maintain that footprint and would modify the exact location and configuration once the city parks are ready to actually design that area.
So and this line of question is getting, I think, to this point, which is if you start putting a bunch of streets that are angled off of Laurel and Granary and now, then you end up with a lot of triangle properties, which they're expensive to build out on, and you end up with a lot of wasted space. So I'm anticipating then that the grid's going to end up more like the rest of the CBD than these angled streets going across.
Yeah,
Does that come up in conversation?
Yeah, it's a definite possibility, yeah.
It's just a possibility, or that's what they're planning on doing?
Well, there's a lot of discussions. I mean, we're starting to dig into a little bit of this, but there's a lot of discussions need to be had before any of this is finalized, and obviously a lot of public hearings need to be held so we get some input on this. But the developer has talked with the port and the city quite a bit about what its intentions are, and there certainly will be some major modifications, but those will be a lot more processed than what we have here. What we have here is the modification of the initial street so that we can get the granary going. The developers expressed an interest in doing the board mill building as the second development on the site. So they've kind of got anchors on both ends of this I guess, triangle you're looking at. And then they'd fill it in the middle. So, correct. Yeah, the rectangle you're looking at, if you could put the cursor on the rectangle, Brian, which is the board mill building right there. And that would be the second development on the site. So the city's initial installation of the granary and the Laurel Street services those two buildings. And then as they build out further into the site, there'll obviously have to be some more significant modifications to the street alignment.
So Rob,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
when do you need this by? Because I'm a little reticent today to say let's move forward unless I know more about it. And obviously I supported. By the way, I supported this in 2000 whenever it came out. But there was a lot of process that went into something different than this, and I just want to make sure that we're, one, honoring the process, and two, have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen in lieu of these by making these changes.
So the city passed this not last night, but a week ago last night, and as I think 7-0, they passed it. The city needs to get going on this to get the streets installed on the timeline that the contract calls. Any delays by the port, and we're giving them an excuse not to get the streets installed by that timeline. So I would encourage you to pass this today. I would encourage you then to allow us to bring forward a more significant changes, which has to be vetted through the process.
Okay, so city council held a hearing on this?
No, it was similar to this. It was a modification to the interlocal agreement. The planning department determined this was a refinement, not a major change to the plan. It fits within the sub-area plan, and that this is not a major change to the overall project. And the city council they actually were fairly enthusiastic about this change. They liked it and supported it. But as Rob indicated, if there are major changes for an overall comprehensive change, there's going to be a much more in-depth process with the city planning department and the comprehensive plan.
And we do see that coming. We're not trying to hide that. We're being forthright in saying that those significant changes are coming. We just don't think this was that significant change, but those are coming.
Anything further?
No, I was under the impression that there would be changes to whatever plan we came up with, depending on the developer and his needs, and so I expect it to not only change now, but to change somewhat later as well.
Right.
So that's not going to be, gosh, you didn't know that was going to happen to me. I figured it would.
And that's correct, Commissioner. During the whole master development process, the city and the port always indicated to each other that, this was pending developers' input. We're going to wait for the experts, the folks who are going to build the site, the folks who have done it before, to weigh in, and then we'd make those changes as necessary. So that was always the plan.
So it looks like the Laurel alignment's going to be pretty much exactly where it was or is today.
Yep.
Okay, so one of the reasons that was presented in the past that it could not remain there is that there was a problem with the slope coming from Cornwall down the bridge to that particular location. So it's the connection with Cornwall was pushed further to the south, actually on the other side of the board mill building, which is our little rectangle there to the right of Laurel Street.
Right.
So why now is it remaining in its existing configuration?
That's that's a good example of when we've gotten into actual engineering and design work that the engineers looked at that and looked at the different percentage of slopes that they could or could not maintain given the footprint of where the current railroad alignment is. And they felt, but the Public Works Department felt that is something that they could maintain, and regardless of future changes at Cornwall, they could maintain that in its current location, and felt like that was the best fit rather than having a jog, which was in the original plan. That this configuration works with their engineers.
Then that would satisfy the height requirements for the bridge over Cornwall should the railroad remove?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Part of this, too, must come from the second phase of this is going to be the board mill building, which wasn't originally that way.
Correct.
So they must need, that road going the way it's designed now would make it.
That's
more
the driver for doing a full Laurel Street versus a 3/4 Laurel Street. That's correct. Because originally the second building was going to be closer to the granary building. I think what Harcourt is finding is there's more interest in the site than they initially thought, and they're picking up the pace that they expect to do buildings for whatever that's worth. So the board mill will be number 2, but I suspect you'll see a ground-up construction for a third building closer to the granary building right after they make a board mill proposal.
No, I mean,
So, like I said a minute ago, I don't personally have any problem with this, and I advocated for a street alignment similar to this years ago. But I do want to make sure that we're honoring the process that went into the original alignments. So I'm still a little bit nervous about saying yes to this just for that reason, even though for selfish reasons I should just say yes. So I will. But anything further?
Well, I wanted to back up on the truck route that Commissioner Briscoe was talking about. For the past 12 years, trucks have been coming in and out of there. Superior Energy's been taking big trucks in and out. There's been other, Haskell and so on, hauling a lot of trucks. They go that same route. They've always gone.
Well, up until recently, they have not, because the Chestnut wasn't designed to handle them, so they were coming through town. So they
Because of the bridge.
correct.
But before the time they changed was when they found the bridge wasn't stable enough.
Sure. Yes.
But they always planned to go back to that, did they not?
That's correct.
Once they made it stable, that's why they did it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question for Sylvia. Sylvia, are you recalling off the top of your head the number of the traffic count numbers, and how many of those might be assigned from the former GP operations to the future? Were they drawn out separately?
Sylvia's been on vacation. It's going to take her a while to figure out which way the microphone is up.
It's a double-ended microphone. Doesn't matter which end you
Tuesday,
use.
time to be back at work.
It was just over 1,000 PM peak hour trips is what the credit that the port has from the
So it wasn't
previous-
broken out by truck traffic.
No, it was not broken out
Okay.
between
Or
trucks
cars
and
trucks.
regular cars.
Okay. All right.
We'll get an arrow on that for you.
I made it on the film. Anything further? All right.
No.
Anything further? All right. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you for that. Thanks for
Commissioners.
being on the hot seat for a minute. Appreciate it, Brian. Looks like we actually have one public comment. Mr. Doug Thomas arrived a little bit late, I think. So if we could hold off on the presentations, get that out of the way in case he wants to go home earlier, that would be fantastic. So, yeah, go ahead. A little out of order, but we're doing it.
Thank you.
Doug Thomas, 2825 Roeder Avenue, Bellingham. I represent Bellingham Cold Storage, and I just wanted to formally, somewhat on the record, not bring a complaint, but bring a thank you. One of your staff members, Mike Hogan, has been great to work with this last, I would say, year and a half. You may not know, but we've been pursuing the dredging, at least the partial dredging right now. It's going on as we speak, of our federal waterway, the Squalicum Federal Waterway. And it's been a real battle to achieve federal funding from the Army Corps of Engineers, who has about half of their previous budget. If you roll the clocks back about 2007 and before, they had about twice as much money in their war chest for conducting federal waterway maintenance, dredging, and whatnot. Mike's been great in helping us with that. I get a sense that Mike is wholeheartedly on board when trying to help BCS. That's pretty refreshing for me. And I've been here 25 years with BCS. I haven't felt that kind of wholehearted support from the port or interaction with the port in quite some time. Also, Dodd Snodgrass and John Michener, I want to thank them for their help with my marketing VP, who's been pursuing outside business, largely from Canada, coming down with activity whereby they would leave cargo here prior to being cleared through customs and then on into the U.S. for domestic distribution. They've been great to work with as well. And I have to tell you that I've worked quite a bit with Executive Director Rob Fix over the last several years. And I have to believe that this type of customer service, if you will, for lack of a better term, is coming from Rob. And so for that, I'm very thankful, and just wanted to let you guys know that you have staff that's doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
It's a rare occasion. Okay, so that's, again, a little out of order, but so it's going to be all our public comment for the day. And then so we're moving on to presentations. It looks like Dodd.
Does that mean I can no longer say this is a thankless job?
Yeah, correct.
One thank you per year is all you're allowed.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Dodd Snodgrass, Economic Development Specialist. My partner, John Michener, is not here today. He's home with a bad cold, or he'd be joining me. And we're here to give you an update on the Port's Economic Development Program, a little perspective from the past year, and things we're going to be doing over 2016. The Port is the designated associate development organization for Whatcom County. And what that means is that with regards to the State Department of Commerce, we serve the lead economic development role. This is a designation provided by Whatcom County to the Port. We've had this for 4 years. Across the state, there are 34 ADOs. Some are ports. The Port of Bellingham is not the only associate development organization. There are 3 or 4 other ports that serve that role. You can see what our 4 main functions are: the retention expansion role, recruiting, marketing, business assistance, and readiness and capacity building. And we have a staff of 2, that would be John and me. So we've handed out in front of you, this is our economic development strategy for 2016. So we've got some strategies and tactics and some targets that we're going to reach and strive for in 2016. A lot of this is business contact related, hopefully with an outcome where a company is going to make a expansion, relocation, job creation, or business investment decision. So there's the four main areas along the lines with what the mission of the Associate Development Organization is. In addition, supporting port operating divisions, and this is something that we've served in. We've had an economic development role here at the Port prior to the ADO designation. I've been here for a number of years, and we work with the various divisions to support the Port's general mission of economic development, which is our state statute responsibilities. So let's touch on retention and expansion. This is basically our outreach program where we get out and make contact with local companies. I don't have a current inventory. We're up to something like 160 companies, primarily manufacturers. We talk to manufacturers. We talk to technology companies, corporate headquarters. Those are kind of our target areas. These are some examples of some companies that we've worked with. We probably have 10 active expansion projects that are on the books right now. TNT Aerospace is a fantastic company up in Sumas. It's an aerospace machine shop. And we've been out to see them. They're growing. They're looking at additional building, and we've given them some advice on financing and some marketing outreach. Transition Composites, we're really proud of this success story. This is a company that works with advanced materials, and they're in the sporting goods arena as well as aerospace, but primarily the niche is sporting goods. That's where they see their opportunity for growth. We helped them secure a new building, and we also provided a port revolving loan fund loan that was approved by the commission here through our EDA program. 3DX is another advanced manufacturing company, and this is a company out in Ferndale in the Copac Industrial Park, has the ability to manufacture high precision metal parts through means not like conventional industrial manufacturing. And so we've been talking to them about ways they can grow their business. And a project that John was involved in a number of years ago, the American Nettings and Fabrics, which was always also a revolving loan fund project. And again, I mentioned we have other projects we're tracking about their needs, primarily siding expansion, financing, workforce advice. A little testimonial from the Blateaus, the owners of Transition Composites. So in terms of supporting new companies moving into Whatcom County, some of this is direct marketing. We're reaching out to companies. Some are referrals we get from the Department of Commerce. Preferred Freezer, this is a project we didn't pursue, but it had identified Whatcom County as a location. It was going to relocate to Canada because its siding wasn't working for it, and it essentially went to Linden, in the West Linden area. And what's besides the investment of this project, and obviously they've recognized the market, is it's a great success story for the city of Linden and their ability to turn around a large investment, a large project. So we can point to Linden, and in turn Whatcom County is a place to do business because they were able to deliver a project quickly. Ross Healthcare, this is a small pilot project. It's a Canadian lead that John worked on, and they're getting a toehold in the county. They're in pharmaceutical manufacturing, and we're hoping that's going to grow. Aviva Pharmaceuticals is another Canadian-based company that purchased a building in Ferndale, and that's a company we've had contact with over a number of years that ultimately made a decision to come to Ferndale. So a lot of these leads are Canadian. We're still active in the Canadian market. It's a little slower with the dollar, but they're still getting inquiries. So this is what's exciting. These are active leads. The first one is actually the one I think Mr. Thomas might be referring to. This is a fairly significant company in BC in food manufacturing. We'd love to see them come here. The 6 years, that's actually how long ago I had contact with this company. And it takes a matter of time when you have a lead that might consider the county that you have to keep checking back. They don't make these decisions, a snap judgment. They want information. They want to look at those opportunities. Plastic water filter company that was referral from Commerce. Then we had direct contact, which would be a great opportunity. They're looking at us. We have a seafood processor that I picked up that lead at a trade show, and so we put out a number of siting opportunities for this company. A marine apparel company that's looking at opportunities here in Bellingham. A company in Sumas in construction blocks, and they made direct contact with Sumas, but in our relations with the small cities in particular, we can step in and reinforce the value proposition of that company about additional resources, make them feel welcome, providing resources for them to consider. So we'll see where these lead. We'll stay in touch and on top of these. These are trade shows or something that we haven't been actively engaged historically, but we are doing more of this. Primarily, these are shows in the Seattle area, and a number of them are aerospace related. The Commerce Department is organizing a lot of those. We don't have a lot of aerospace here, but we have opportunities for growth. And in fact, I went to the Pacific Northwest Aerospace Association this past week, and there's a Whatcom County company that had a booth. In my conversation with them, I learned that they are outgrowing their space. They need significant new space, and we're going to go out and visit and have a tour next week. And they like Whatcom County. They want to grow here. So we're like the welcoming team. What's going to keep you here? What can we do to help you grow? So that's exciting. Recreation Northwest Expo, this is a third year to this program, and they've had a trade show. Traditionally, there's going to be a seminar on manufacturing opportunities in outdoor recreation, and that's a sector that we're focusing on. So we help with a panel and with some contacts there, mainly to basically promote Whatcom County as not just a place to recreate, but a place to bring your business. Let's see. Let me mention the Natural Food Products Show. This is fairly significant. This is a big trade show. It's one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. This is down in Anaheim. And we're partnered with the State Commerce Department, who has some experience with these types of shows. And they're engaging a site selector, a prospector, to set up business visits with 10 prospects who are attending the show. We have Whatcom County companies that go to the show. We have Barleans, we have Nature's Path, NutraDry. They have a presence down there. And so this is a great fit for Whatcom County of existing companies in natural foods, organic foods, specialty food products, chocolate, peanut butter, and we've got it all. So this will be a great opportunity then to go down this path and actually have a work in collaboration with Commerce to meet with companies that might be considering expansion or relocation opportunities. This is a new brand logo we're going to be working with, and something that the other economic development groups in Whatcom County are going to embrace as well. We're working jointly with the City of Bellingham and Whatcom County the Port are funding a website project. It's going to be a new aggregator basically to promote the different organizations that support and work with businesses at all levels. And we're tagging this Choose Whatcom Moving Business Forward as something we can embrace, be proactive and positive about Whatcom County as a place to do business. Along those lines, we're working on some collateral. You have this in front of you, a little rack card, some statistics, trying to highlight some of the key companies in Whatcom County that are leading national companies like Superfeet, McNett, Alpha Technologies, Kona World, bike companies. These are brands that are sold around the country, around the world, that we want to highlight. In addition, we have this is our Whatcom profile. We just updated this. It's available on the Port website, and it'll also be on the new website. But essentially, this is for a site selector, a business, we have a lot of statistics, a lot of information on programs, live links to different resources to help companies want information about Whatcom County. And in turn, we have some memberships with different organizations. Clean Tech Alliance is interesting. We have Clean Tech in Whatcom County. We have iTech Energy. We've got Regenis that does biomethane digesters, and this is basically a Seattle-centric organization. But we've been plugged in, been involved. Mike Hogan's gone down to some meetings with me, and they've actually provided a couple of leads. So it's a good relationship for the membership. We enjoy some good relationships with some British Columbia organizations such as the Surrey, BC Board of Trade, Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters Association, and that's what John focused on specifically. He's working with those trade groups, and he's welcome. He shows up and he's like the token American, but they're willing to share and talk because we both, there's challenges on both sides of the border, and we're talking with Canada. It's basically your opportunity to expand your presence down here, not pick up and relocate. So that's been good as far as exposure. I forgot to mention Globe. That's an important trade show. That's coming up, in March, I think, where we have a booth, and it's every 2 years. And 2 years ago, we were the only Washington State entity that had a booth presence at Globe. And Globe is a world clean technology conference. Startup companies, different companies engaged in clean technology. So we'll be up there again. And it's nice really to set the bar high that, we're the border county, and then we're ahead of Washington State as far as having a presence at that trade show. We have at our disposal, one benefit the Port has that a lot of other agencies don't, are some of the tools and resources at our disposal. The first three listed there are in particular to the Port. I mentioned the revolving loan fund. This is a small gap financing program. John manages that program, and we've used that for a few of the company expansions that I mentioned. Industrial revenue bonds, you sit also as the Industrial Development Corporation, and you have the ability to issue conduit financing for manufacturers. That business dried up the last few years since the credit crisis, and its long-term rates have been low. I just did a blurb out to manufacturers about IRBs, and actually heard back from 3 or 4 companies that are talking expansion. They might look at this. So if the market works well, it's a great finance tool, and what's great, the port's not on the hook, taxpayers aren't on the hook, and we can support expansion of local manufacturers. The other thing that we have is a foreign trade zone. And this is basically, it's a program to help importers, exporters reduce the cost of doing business. It's only for certain kinds of companies, right-sized companies. We're not seeing a lot of activity, but basically it's no cost for us to have the foreign trade zone off, and we'll get inquiries because we have the foreign trade zone, how can I help my business? And so it's there, it's available, we can fire it up, we can work with a business to take advantage of it, and they can do it across Whatcom County. They don't have to be on port property or within a designated area. Grants and loans in this area, we help within the port, for example, the county EDI program. It's our responsibility to help secure funding for port projects. We also advise the other communities about these kinds of finance and funding programs. Small City Fund, March 1st, you're going to be considering applications from the small cities for our Small City Economic Development Fund, and this is a pretty unique program we started in 2004, where the port cost shares with the small communities on non-construction projects. And we've invested over $600,000 since 2004. And we were the first port to come up with this kind of program, and it's been replicated by a number of ports since then. For a countywide port authority and ability to support our small communities, it's a positive program. And again, we thank the Commission for continuing to support that program. There are different special designations. You see some alphabet soup there. Immigrant investor programs, new market tax credits. These are things we try to stay this much knowledge on a lot of different things, but we can bring in the experts to help do some of these things in designated areas. We really have to stay on top of tax incentives, training programs, different resources, not things we may be doing specifically, but we have to know who does these things. So John and I know who delivers training, what sources provide financing. Typically we look at the Small Business Development Center to advise clients about where to get financing, but we also can direct businesses that way. And we do work very closely, we have great relations with the State Department of Commerce, where they're folks, they come up here, they love to come to Bellingham, they like to tour around, we show them what's going on. We also work with the municipalities. I should mention business retention. I didn't mention that's an important area. With the Alcoa situation, you all know that there was the notice to idle the Intalco smelter. They did idle the one in Wenatchee. I've been serving on a labor management group that was working towards at that time, the potential idling of the Intalco smelter, and they got a reprieve. Hopefully they're working out a power cost arrangement with BPA and some other opportunities to keep the smelter operating. But we talked closely with the Commerce Department about economic development opportunities for Alcoa. We want to keep the smelter open, but are there other opportunities with the property that's out there, other ways we can work with the company? So we're having those, that kind of discussion to stay current, and we're really hopeful that the smelter won't close and those jobs can be saved. Okay, Prospector, this is another program. We have an annual prescription of this. This is a real estate and demographic information site by a company called GIS Planning. They're one of the best in the business. And this is an opportunity where the Commercial Brokers Association can automatically load properties. Also have the ability, communities, the port or whoever can load their own properties on here, and you can do a search, and it's pretty robust in demographic information. So we're trying to make this more of a go-to site. We will also look for siting for companies. We won't just leave it to this, but if we get a lead for a company looking at Whatcom County, we basically do a blurb out to the brokers, the port, the private brokers, the cities, anybody who has property to come up with opportunities and choices, because our client is the company where they may, what might be their best fit. We couldn't do what we do without business assistant partners. Someone once said economic development is a team sport, and we like to say the Port is a lead economic development agency. And in many ways we are, and we support these other groups. There are projects and programs that some of these organizations support directly, and so we refer to each other, we work together, and we're fortunate in a way that we do have a span of different community economic development organizations that can take everything from a business idea all the way to finding workforce and higher education. Bellingham Technical College, for example, we were out there today for our small cities meeting. It's really amazing. They got a dynamic new president out there, and they're doing some great stuff with their students as well as workforce training. Again, touching on how we support projects at the port, we work with all the operating divisions, maritime, real estate, aviation. Aviation, for example, we're supporting ways that the business community might better utilize the airport based on destinations or other attracting different types of airlines. So we're the interface with businesses and what they might want. Real estate, again, we support Shirley's projects. If a tenant's expanding, they need financing, we can help with that. Maritime, for example, we help produce the Maritime Trades Directory, support Dan and their efforts, as well as the shipping terminal. So again, looking ahead, this is in our little handout I gave you, but we're going to recruitment efforts. Our goal is 50 unique contacts on this side of the border and 50 on the other side of the border, and these will be generated through databases, through one-on-one meetings, events, and things like that. The company meetings I'll have in Los Angeles, Globe, for example. Retention expansion, I think we're targeting at least 25 visits to companies. Some we've seen again, and we want to. It's often you got to show up at the right time when a business needs something, and they may not just let us know, but the word's getting out. People understand, the business community understands that the port is not role to not just support the port real estate, port tenants, port divisions, but all of Whatcom County. We like to throw this up now and then. This is something, 100 things made in Whatcom County. We came up with 100 unique things made in the county. I haven't gone through this lately to see if anything's dropped off. We might have added one or two things, but we should really be proud of what we produce in this county. It's a pretty amazing variety of products. And thank you.
Thank you. I'm interested in the cheesecake. Who makes the cheesecake?
It's Chuck and Nut Bay.
All right.
Little yummy cheesecakes.
Question, Dodd. Point Roberts, how much interaction are we having with them?
Not lately. So back in the day, we did support some of the chamber and the business development groups. And the time, I think they had an organization in the Point Roberts. I'm not sure what's there lately. Haven't had any current discussions.
I think it's the Point Roberts Taxpayers Association.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. I've got an email. The reason I'm asking, I've got an email from them, and they're the Lily Point Lighthouse Park Reserve is some things have moved forward, and they had a question, and I thought since you were here, maybe you could answer this question. They were wondering, they're an unincorporated community. Can they still file for the small city grants help? Can we still do that if they're an unincorporated community?
Well, thanks to the wisdom of the Port Commission, we have the Small City Fund, which we made available today. We also have there's a rural piece. It's undeterminable right now what that looks like, but it might be something for Point Roberts.
Okay.
But you did budget some funding for rural projects.
Okay. A gentleman named Mark Roberts, and I'll try and forward
Okay.
this email to you that he's sent, so that maybe we can answer their questions.
What are they after?
They want help they want matching grants for whatever they can come up with to turn their lighthouse park, to maintain and improve their lighthouse park, and for tourism up there, which is kind of their, that's how a lot of the money's made at Point Roberts. There's not much there. So this is one of their major things, and he stated in the past that they'd had difficulty or weren't very encouraged with the response from the Port of Bellingham, so they were hoping that now things are going to change and maybe have
Yeah, let's
But he wasn't sure because they were an unincorporated.
put that on for the future conversation, because the last time we talked about it, they were talking about just funds for their floats and some park upgrades, which is pretty much outside the realm of what we're supporting. So I think the suggestion was go talk with the county. But if there's some tourism angle to it, maybe there's some engagement that we can be involved with, that might be useful.
And I'll send this email to everybody. I'll forward it. It just came last night. So.
Dodd, remind us how much the small cities funding is and how much is for the unincorporated areas?
I think we have, we put out 80 for the small cities today. I think there's another 40 that you added to that.
Of the 80, they took 75. There was 5 left over.
That's correct.
At that meeting this morning, I think. So
Yeah, there's
there's 5,000 left over.
yeah. Sorry? That's in,
Plus the unincorporated. So 5 left over from the 80 plus the
because there's 45 then, I think.
Yeah.
So that hasn't, we've supported Mount Baker on some projects regarding telecommunication. We've supported Birch Bay. As long as within the statutory authority, I think we can consider things.
Thank you.
Anything with you? All right, thanks, Don, for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. We have an update. Is anybody presenting a conversation about the meeting schedule?
No, sir, you asked for that to be on the agenda, so we thought we'd leave that for your discussion, but
right.
we're happy to provide any information we can.
So we had a conversation at our first meeting about the meeting schedule. I presented a possibility, and if that's still fine with the two of you, then I'd like to move forward with that. And as of our next meeting, that would be our official meeting times until further notice.
So you want to talk about it?
Yeah, because we've already voted on it, but I wanted
I'm a
to.
little confused on what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to have another conversation to make sure that this is definitely the direction we were going forward with. When I brought it up in January, I wanted folks to have a time to have a conversation about it, kick it around a little bit and see if it needed any kind of adjustment. And if so, we could do that now, or we can stick with as what we supported in January and then just move forward from there.
So as a reminder, what was supported in January was a 4 o'clock meeting start. We would go till 5 o'clock. We would then take a break until 5:30. We would reconvene at 5:30 and until business was done.
So, does that satisfy you?
Not sure what we're going to do with the break, but I have no real objection to it.
I can use the restroom.
One thing I would like
That's
to
why I called
add,
it dinner break.
one thing I would like to add to the other discussions, in addition to all the other stuff I said about keeping the meeting the same. After last Tuesday's meeting, I went to an Allegiant Conference awards deal for Allegiant over here at the Bellwether, and they were really happy someone from the port was there, and we gave them a nice a little plaque. But if we meet on Tuesday night and they had that meeting, no one from here would have showed. And they're a big tenant. They're an important person. And most of those types of events are held at night and seldom on a Monday and never on a Friday. So whatever that's worth. And also I saw on Facebook, I was a little confused as Bobby is on what we were going to discuss today because I thought we'd already voted on it. But I saw on Facebook, if there's anyone interested in commenting on the meetings, to come to the meeting today. And no one showed up and no one talked. So, and you know, other than having two of our biggest tenants say they wanted to leave it the same, my thinking's still the same, but as far as I'm concerned, we voted on it.
Sure. So I definitely want to move forward with it.
Discussion on now, or we move until next meeting? Now
No,
I'm really confused.
No, we're going to leave it as is. This is just an update because we are making the change. It'll be at our next meeting. In regards to the Allegiant thing, I was asked to join the Board of Sustainable Connections last year, and I will have to now quit because our meetings will run into their meetings. So I definitely understand that some things we'll have to miss. So
Just
it's unfortunate. It's how it is.
We've also talked to council, Catherine Dietz in Frank's office, about what to do during that half hour, whether the meeting should be adjourned or whether it should be recessed or how all that works. And her belief is if it's not adjourned, we should leave the video running for a half an hour and just have it be blank space. So we're going to have to either decide whether we want to adjourn and reconvene. I don't know if Frank has any input on that, or whether we just let the video run. I think letting the video run might be a little awkward.
Going to confuse.
That's the meeting? not adjourning?
Yeah, the statute's kind of written poorly. So in the words of the statute, a adjournment would be what I would call a continuance. So if you just stop the meeting and say, we're gonna come back in a half hour, then you should leave everything running, because the meeting's still active. If you adjourn the meeting till 5:30, then the meeting stops and restarts, and you can act
So then
that
they
way.
can shut off and restart.
Shut off. But if you just say, we're gonna take a break, then we typically leave everything running during the break because the meeting's still going. Obviously, and while the meeting's adjourned, it's no longer an open public meeting. You guys can't have any discussions unless you adjourn to an executive session, for example, you could do that. Hope that clarified it.
All right, so that's our official update. So the start time will be moved to 4 o'clock, and there will be 2 public comment periods in that, so there'll be one at 3. So folks trying to stay relevant to folks that would rather be here during the early part of the day, or folks that want to come after they get off of work can both have an opportunity to weigh in.
At 3? We're starting at 3?
Excuse me, 4.
4,
Yes,
okay.
the 4. Yeah,
So our first meeting in March is at 4.
4 p.m.
That's
Yes.
what we voted on.
Yes.
That was unclear because I saw in the paperwork we got that it said 3 to 5 for March, for both meetings.
No, I think our first meeting, can you refresh me on that one, Diane? It's 4 o'clock, yeah.
So 4 o'clock, public comment, 5:30, public comment.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. And if it doesn't work, then we'll adjust it again and just confuse people for a few more months, but we'll get it worked out in a way that satisfies as many people as possible. And then, do either of you have any new business? I have one more item.
We've
Well,
got,
I'd once again really like to thank Doug Thomas for coming here and saying nice things about the port. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Doug.
Rob, go ahead. I've got one, but I'll wait.
okay, you sure? So I have 2. One of them is going to be presented by Adam Fulton. It's an overrun on a project that we're made aware of after the fact. Thus, it's under new business here because we have to act urgently on this. And then the other one is regarding a piece of artwork we've purchased. If we could do that one first before we do this one. So the piece of artwork we bought from a Lummi Nation carver is a story pole. It's a horizontal, not a vertical story pole. It's going to be installed at the airport. We bought that for $23,000, so we did that under my signing authority, which is $25,000. I didn't consider sales tax because Lummi Nation doesn't pay sales tax, but we do, so we have to put, Tamara tells me we have to put use tax on that and takes that over my signing authority. We're also going to have a little installation ceremony where we invite some elected officials. Congressman Larson would be invited and hopefully be able to attend. We'll get the chairman of the Lummi tribe there. We'll get yourselves there and some other, maybe the mayor and county exec. So I'm going to ask you for a motion to approve a $28,000 budget for the installation and the acquisition of a story pole from the Lummi Nation to be used at our airport.
Did you write all that down?
Well, she's writing that down. You say it's horizontal. Is it going to be up in the air or down where?
It'll be on the ground. We're building the platform for it. The artist has worked closely with Adam Fulton on the construction of that platform. It'll be put in the area of the terminal that's kind of between baggage claim and between the Halibut Henrys, kind of right next to the Halibut Henrys there, so a very visible part of the airport. You don't have to go through security to see it. Anyone that walks into the airport can see this piece of artwork. It'll have a plaque associated with it that'll describe the piece of art. And one thing I failed to mention, which is probably the most important part of this project was started by the Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association, NESA. They ran out of money to finish it, so we stepped in to finish it for them. So it's actually about a $50,000 story pole. We're just picking up half of it, and we get to display it on our premise. But the NESA gets a lot of credit for getting this ball rolling and getting the project started.
I think that's great.
Do we have this in the budget?
So we do. Well, we have the $23,000 without sales tax, so I will have to scrape together another $5,000.
Does NC get mentioned at all in the plaque?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Can you read the motion, please, Diane?
A motion to approve the funding of $28,000 for the purchase and installation of a story pole piece of artwork at the Bellingham International Airport.
All right, discussion? No? Well, since you already committed us to paying for it, we probably better say yes. All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, and thanks for that, Rob. I think it's probably one of the right things to have artwork-wise in the airport, so super cool. Looks like we have something from Adam? We do. All right. Second? I did.
The commissioners should have in front of them an action memo, and I'll just give you a moment to skim read that, if you would, please.
Can you read that? Thank you.
Authorize an increase to the total authorized contract amount with Strider Construction Incorporated for the Bunker C soil removal project in the amount of $41,000 for a new total authorized contract amount of $845,000.
Good? We're good? All right. Want to pitch it? All right, let's hear it.
So thank you, Commissioners. As Director Fix mentioned, it's unusual for us to bring an action item to new business, but we were made aware of this problem after the deadline for the commission packet. And certainly in the interest of full disclosure and complete transparency, we wanted to get the issue in front of you as soon as possible. With that, just like to walk you through very quickly the work that we're doing and what exactly happened here. This is the, in front of you on your screen is the, what we call Remedial Action Unit number 1, which is the GP West site and the pulp and tissue side. And that represents about 31 acres there. In the conversation today, basically on this site, before I proceed, there's basically 3 things we have to do to that site to meet the requirements of our consent decree. The consent decree is about step 6 through about a 7-step process with the Department of Ecology on cleaning up a site. And the consent decree is a legal document. It's a requirement. It's enforceable by law. There's 3 things we essentially needed to do to this site. One is remove the known bunker C, which is up in this portion of the site, and that's what we'll be talking about in a moment. The second is to cap the entire site, and it's not a water infiltration cap, it's a human contact cap. And then the third is to install monitoring wells through the site for a long-term monitoring and hopefully attenuation of any contaminants in the ground. For today's conversation, we'll just be speaking about this project here, which is the Bunker C soil removal. This is a close-up of the site, and I'll ask the commissioners to store this red trapezoidal shape in their minds, as you'll see it again in just a moment. And what you're seeing there are soil borings that are performed all through the site. What they're trying to do there, on every environmental cleanup, what they're attempting to do there is bracket in where they think the plume of subsurface impacted soils will be. Backing up just a quick moment for everyone's knowledge, this is the clarifier. Of course, it's now removed. This is the former steam plant. These are the boilers. And in this area actually were pipes. There was a tank over here, and there were pipes to and from the tank to the boilers, and also pipes out to the shore, to the pier line, where fuel would come in by barge, would supply the tank, and then the tank would supply the boilers. So as you can see, these red dots, as you might suspect, indicate hot readings, readings that exceed the tolerable parts per million of impacted soil in the area. And then the green dots here are borings, again, that where we think we have clean soil. So it seems like a reasonable guess, this red trapezoid. With that information, we put together a bid packet and go out to bid. And right here, you'll notice our low bidder is Strider Construction, local company, $670,000 bid, very competitive to the $686 and the $794. So it's a decent bid, 6 bidders. All is well so far. What we do with every one of our bids is do a bid abstract. We break apart the bids. These are the bids in the vertical columns of each of the 6 companies that bid it. This in the red box is Strider's bid. And what we're doing there is analyzing the bid to make sure that the bid is balanced, that it's a fair bid, that they're not trying to perhaps leverage any mistake that might have been made in quantities or something else. And in fact, and Strider's done a lot of projects with us. They're a very good contractor, and they have a very, very good bid here, not only low, but balanced. We'll be drawing attention to this highlighted row down here in just a moment. The commissioners will recall this trapezoidal shape I pointed to earlier, where this is where our hot readings were inside of that. And this larger pink area is, in fact, where all the impacted soils were discovered, despite the clean readings in the area. And there's a physical explanation for why that occurred that we're learning, and that is essentially these boilers are placed on very large concrete footings. So when the oil in the boiler house would leak, it would go down through the slab, it would hit the concrete footing, and then sort of waterfall around the edge, and then impact the soils underneath. So when you're going between those large footings with your boring, which is the only place you can bore, you're saying, well, it looks pretty good, except that you're not getting these impacted soils that are underneath those footings. And it's simply not practical to try to surgically run between these footings. They're too close, but in fact you can stab between them with a boring machine and it all appears clean. So we analyze, again, back here we analyze the bid. It's a very good balanced bid. If I could draw your attention to that highlighted row, I'll blow this up here in a moment. This is in fact where the impact was. Again, we're operating under consent decree, so it's not like we have an option of removing this soil or not. It simply has to be removed. I want to be clear with the commissioners today, and that is that what I'm not here to do is defend what we took out, because we took out only what we needed to and what we had to. But what I am here is to apologize that there was a tabulation error made by our consultant where they didn't realize we were going to run over our authority. So it's a procedural problem we have here, not a execution problem. This is a blow up of the bid. You can see there, and again in the red box out to the right is Strider's bid. This row is really the culprit, and you can see of the $616,000 bid before tax, $285,000 of it, almost half, is the contaminated soil removal. This 3,000 tons. Their bid of 95 yards a ton. This is soil that's being excavated and run by dump truck over to Wenatchee. This quantity here of 3,000 tons, again, per this expanded plume, ended up being about 4,800 tons. It's just impossible to control the bid when you have one of the most expensive bid item explode by that far, frankly. We were notified of this even as late as January 22nd. Not only did our consultant believe that we would be in our bid amount, not even using any of our contingency, they thought that they would be in our bid amount. And again, they just made a tabulation error. And frankly, here's exactly what happened. Is when they're excavating this soil, they're doing it in 2 stages because the material is going to Wenatchee. They excavate it, they put it in an off-road dump truck, and then they drive it over to a stockpile. From the stockpile, it's then loaded to a dump truck, and the dump truck goes to Wenatchee. Obviously, they can dig into an off-road dump truck and stockpile much faster than they can dump truck it off-site. All they were counting was the dump trucks leaving the site, and that's how they were doing their projection on their quantities, not counting the material they had already dug out laying there in the stockpile. So even as late as 2 weeks before the end of the project, they thought we would be right on the contract amount. And we were fine. There was nothing to be alarmed about. And then all of a sudden they looked over and saw the stockpile and went, oh, that counts too. And then our quantity suddenly ratcheted right up and over. We have talked to Aspect, who's done millions of dollars of consulting for us between this project and the Whatcom Waterway project. They're a very good consulting firm. They've done very good work for us. They just made a flat-out error here. We told them there were 3 things that we needed to have in place with them before we consider doing any further consulting with them. The first is that we needed them to develop an SOP that this would never happen again, because we need to have them have controls on units every day, and to be accurate in their projections. The second is for them to work with the contractor to ensure that that bid is in fact balanced as we believe it is. We've met with the contractor 3 times, and we do believe we have a very good and balanced bid. And then the third thing is we consider Aspect to, it's not right in our minds that they would make a profit on a project that they had a significant error on. And they agreed. And so as of the date where they began making the error, January 22nd, they have credited out their hours, so as well as stopped charging any hours. So it's in the neighborhood of about a $30,000 credit back to us. Now, I say it's to us. What pays for this project is 50% MACA funding, 50% AIG insurance. But all to say is they recognize the error they made, the position they've put us in, and are coming to the table with, in fact, their own money. Just to take a quick second, read you just a little bit on this.
Adam, just a clarification. This is a $41,000 change order. The $30,000 is in addition to the 41?
No.
So we're really only it's not a 41 we're paying, it's only 11?
Well, they're almost unrelated. I understand the commissioner's question. It looks like we're down 40 and getting 30 back. It's really not that. The 40 is all on the construction side. We have to do that work. It has to be done per the consent decree. This is the consulting contract. It is ultimately out of a same pocket of money, so the commissioner's pretty good in saying, yeah, we went 41 over, and we're getting 30 back as credited service. We have to pay the 41. If I had stopped the work, if I'd been given the opportunity and had stopped the work, we would have still paid the 41, and we would have paid some delay charges, frankly. So there's no way we're going to get out of the 41, if you follow me. You're not following me. But when they started making the mistake, they said we shouldn't be charging you any of our bills for the mistaken work. And we concur with that.
Adam, at the end of the day, 50% of MOTCA and 50% of our insurance company, they will be billed for $41,000 in material overage, but they will not pay $30,000 of Aspect fees that they would have paid.
That's correct.
That they would pay to Aspect?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That explains it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. So just reading very quickly, this is a 3-page letter. I just want to jump out a couple excerpts right off the bat. On behalf of Aspect Consulting, let me first sincerely apologize for the miscommunication that occurred on the Bunker C soil removal project and the resulting position this has put you in. The quantity of contaminated material that required removal is greater than estimated in the contract documents, which is not uncommon for cleanup projects. However, you made it clear at the project kickoff meeting between the Port, Strider, and Aspect that you must be notified in advance if the work quantities were increasing, such that the contractor's costs were approaching their contract authorization, $670,000. Based on increased quantities of contaminated material removed and applying the unit bid prices, the total contract amount is expected to be, they thought then, $850,000. It's actually going to be about $844,000. At the end of the letter, per our third requirement that they participate in this error financially, in acknowledgement of Aspect's communications breakdown outlined above, we have permanently written off labor charges incurred on this task from January 18th to present, which is when the communication breakdown occurred. Specifically, we've written off that time period, all of the project management time, and all of Aspect's construction oversight and monitoring time. While we do not have all the subcontracted costs accounted for yet, we expect to end up more than $30,000 under the authorized budget for the task. That is what we're asking for. With the quantity blew past, we weren't given warning. There was a tabulation error made. And yeah, and before discussion, let me just say professionally, just that I apologize to this commission and to our director, to our auditor, and to my project sponsor for this error. While it's not my personal error, it occurred on my watch, and we go through extreme measures to never have this happen, and yet here we are. So I just offer that apology to you fellows. So, do the commissioners have any questions?
Can you go back to the original bids for a minute? I just have one question. There we go. No, the smaller one where you can see them all. There. The 41,000 would have been added to any one of those numbers going across there, no matter who had gotten the bid. Is that correct?
Not exactly. What would have been added to every bid was 1,800 tons of contaminated soil. And so the commissioner would need to go to each of those unit prices. For instance, Three Kings Environmental was $107 a ton. Anderson Environmental next to Strider there was $106 a ton. So you would multiply that unit price by the 1,800, and that would be a portion of this 41,000 that we're talking about. Does that make sense to the commissioner?
It does. There would have been 1, 2, 3 that would have been a little bit less, and 2 that would have been higher.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bobby.
I'd just like to say, Adam, I appreciate someone that takes responsibility for what happens on their watch. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Yeah, it's always hard, but thanks for that. Something that came up in a slightly different conversation last month with me, and Brian, if you can help me, I think I'm going to say this wrong. A voluntary cleanup. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, correct. There's the voluntary cleanup program, which is also referred to as the VCP.
Okay. All right. And the reason I'm bringing this up at this point is this is soils that had to come out no matter what. We just didn't know it because we didn't know that it was there. So part of the process of digging this out is, and I think either you or your predecessor explained it, you start digging, you don't stop until you get it all, whether you know it's there or not. So in this case, we just didn't know it was there. So for me, I don't see an error here other than just not counting it when it left and knowing about it before it left. So I'm not going to be as critical, I think, as you might have been, especially with Aspect not keeping track of that, so you'd know ahead of time. I know surprises are not cool. I literally just got a surprise while you were doing yours, your presentation right there, which I didn't want to get either. So I do appreciate your apology for that, but just so I think, for the public to know, this material was going to go no matter what. So we were going to spend this money no matter what. And I do appreciate that Aspect recognized that and said, you know what, we're not going to charge you for the time we put into that because you didn't know we were going to do it. And I think that was the right thing for them to do. So appreciate them doing that as well. Is there anything further on this?
Well, you've got the mic in your hand, Brian. This may be a ridiculous question, but when Jim was up here and told us we have no more MODCA money, and actually we're $10 million in debt, or in the rears. Now we're adding, Ecology is going to pay 50% of this. When are they going to, where are they getting the money, and when do they say no?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It might be worthwhile for us to put together a briefing to the commission on exactly what we have, because it is confusing, and there's money that we do have under existing grant agreements that the legislature has reappropriated that's not in jeopardy, it's not at risk, we're using it. And then there's money that we've projected that we need for future projects or projects that we're just about ready to pull the trigger on that did not get funding through the legislature. So I would maybe suggest that we put together a presentation on that for the commission at a future session. But for this particular case, we do have an existing remedial action grant that has funding that will cover these costs associated with this project. So that is money that has been reappropriated and is available.
And actually, for Ecology, if they're gonna pay half of the 40, but they're going to get back half of the 30.
Same, yeah, exactly the same. We invoice AIG and Ecology for the invoices that come to us, then we just pass those
And
through.
then they get the credit.
And they'll get the credit as well.
So it's not going to cost them that much.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Very welcome.
Adam, I don't have any further questions for you, but I do have one for our legal side of this. And so you presented this obviously because there's also a potential legal problem, which is how do you handle a situation where someone says, "Oh, I made a mistake." They seem sincere, but in this case, the sincerity of the issue was we underbid. Was there a problem with the bidding, or was it that just wasn't included at the very beginning, so they could not have known that in the first place? Is there any problem with that process?
If I can sum up what I think the problem comes in an audit, and it comes the fact that we didn't gain approval prior to committing to the expenditure.
Okay.
So it's not in the bidding process because we only knew then what we knew, and the discovery came later. But when the discovery was made, it was made after we had already incurred the expense.
Okay.
So the faultive aspect here was not making us aware of the increased expense, so we could come to you and get approval. Even though we had no choice, we're committed to paying removing that material, we still should have come to you to get the approval prior to spending the money.
Okay, so the bid process is still good?
Yeah,
That's correct.
The bid process has unit prices. It says, this is what we'll charge per ton for this kind of material. And that then is combined with an estimate of a certain type of material to realize a number. And then you approve that number plus a contingency. And as both Adam and Rob said, once you exceed that contingency, the staff needs to come to you before spending more money. And that's what happened here.
Okay.
More money was spent. Now, in fairness, in this situation, we're dealing with, I might, say you're dealing with $40,000 if you stop and then come to the commission and they slow their equipment down. It may not be the most cost-effective thing, but that's why Adam tries to get in front of these things, I think, so that if it's coming up, he can come to you ahead of time, we can keep the project moving, and there was just a process breakdown here, not a legal issue.
Okay, all right, cool. Thank you very much, Adam.
Very welcome.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks, Rob. Anything further? No. I've got one new thing that was brought to my attention. You may have.
We need to vote on that.
Vote on this.
This is an action item. My apologies, everybody.
This
Yep.
election item.
Almost let that slip right by me. You people are on it. Dang. In that case, all in favor? Aye.
You don't need to read it.
I don't care if we reread it. No. Go ahead, reread it. That's fine.
Authorize an increase to the total, a motion to authorize an increase to the total authorized contract with Strider Construction Incorporated for the Bunker C Soil Removal Project in the amount of $41,000 for a new authorized contract amount of $845,000.
All right. Anything further? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll set that one aside. Commercial Fishing Association has asked for us to have a discussion about what I'm going to call the Fisherman's Pavilion. I do believe they've spoken with Rob a little bit about a potential for a fabric structure over by someplace in Squalicum Harbor.
Yeah, so basically where the fireboat is now, and Dan just left the room, but where the fireboat is now, between the web locker and that, there's parking in that area right now. If we could, Adam, can you pull up a Google Earth?
That'd be great.
And we'll get this. The annotator is not working today, so we can't circle it, but we can show you the general area. And we talked about a short-term fabric building, but a longer-term doing a more permanent pavilion-type structure. I want to envision a picnic shelter that's much bigger and longer that the fishermen could repair nets under and work on their gear under. And then most recently came up that possibly do direct sales. We went up to Steveston last Friday with some of the fishermen and some of the working waterfront folks and looked at the over-the-dock fish sales. And while we don't have an ideal spot for that right now, this pavilion area might be able to accommodate that. So yeah, Adam, if you keep going down to the bottom of the screen there you go.
Okay.
Right in that area. Perfect. So between the web locker, if you go up a little bit to the right, Nope, down towards, to the right.
Just below the word
Right of the
loop, I
screen.
think.
The
Keep going,
restroom over in that parking strip there, area,
Yep.
from there south.
keep going south, keep going south, keep going south. Right there, that web block, between that web locker and the water, we'd build some pavilion that'd essentially be the same shape as that web locker that the cursor is hovering over.
Okay.
Thanks, Adam.
So the Sea Feast is happening this fall, and I think that was the question they had was, could something be erected in time for that?
Yeah, and we won't get the permanent structure done and permitted by this fall, but what I did commit is that the port has a number of tents that we could bring out for that event, very large tents. I'm not sure how many.
Adam does.
16 by 16, and there's 6 of them.
So there you go, 16 by 16 tents that we could erect in this area for a stopgap for this Sea Fest, and then try and get the permanent structure done by the following year.
So I'd love to have a conversation with the meeting and events folks and see if an outdoor, well, a more open picnic style, but the big version, right? Would be something that they could find uses for during the year other than just the commercial fishing.
We will certainly have those conversations. I think the first take on it is that the reason we have the 16 by 16 tents is that we thought that that would go and be sellable, and it really hasn't. It hasn't turned into an amenity people are looking for. So I think the pavilion may fall under those lines too, but we'll ask them, we'll ask the questions. We'll also start to work up some costs. I think the plan would be to get this into the 2017 budget, so we'll put this into the regular budget process and bring it all to you for those discussions.
I would also, unless they already have, would like to see the MAC, the Marine Advisory Committee weigh in on this, because it's right in their wheelhouse. So I think they should weigh in on it as well. But when you said a temporary covering, you're talking the tents, not something else.
The
That's
tents would
temporary
be
now.
temporary for this Sea Feast, which is September 30th through October 1st.
And then it would go either stay at that or go to a permanent structure.
Correct.
Nothing in between.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, we'd take the tents down after the Sea Feast. We wouldn't leave them up, but then we could.
Well, and I think you'll get a pretty good feel with the tents up of how successful it'll really be.
Correct. Yep. And if we did a permanent structure, there's going to be some, electricity brought in for it, possibly running water. If we want to do direct fish sales, you'd have to have running water in there. So we'll work up some numbers and bring you full options, and then we can have discussions as we develop our budget.
I when I first heard about it, I thought a tent and not really, but I think a permanent open-sided structure that has the possibility of pulling down some fabric to keep the major heavy weather out if there was an event going on. And I started looking around the harbor, and we don't have anything like that. I don't think we have anything like that on the waterfront.
We don't. No.
Anywhere.
What's the date these tents would be up?
September 30th, October 1st. It's Sea Feast, which is the city's new signature event. That this would be the first year of it.
So that's the only time it would, just that little period.
I think in the initial run at this, that's what we'd do. Yeah.
Super, cool. Thanks for taking a look at that. Anything further right now? No?
New business, what do you say?
You got any new business? Yeah, let's see what you got.
First, I'd like to say, since I became a port commissioner, I've asked for some things from staff, and I'd like to say thank you very much. You've been very responsive to me. I know I put a time frame on things, and people have been hustling around, and thank you very much. One of the things that I think we need to start doing here is we need to start a process to figure out where we can put a container yard on port property on the waterfront. We need to figure out where we can have a container yard and a plan to do it. And I feel this way because you're not going to have container companies come with any kind of interest to the Port of Bellingham if we don't have a plan or a place where we're going to put something like that. So I'd like to get something started with staff to move forward, trying to figure out where feasible sites might be for a container yard, as well as our folks like Doug Thomas. I know Doug has been interested in a container yard for quite some time, and he's worked with the port in the past to try and figure out a site. But I believe it's a business that needs to come back to our harbor. We're sending containers right by here to Seattle that actually are trucked back up to BCS, and quite a few of them that could be dropped off here and locally, as well as this could be a stopping point for stuff coming out of Vancouver. Instead of running it all the way to Seattle, they can stop here. So I think it's a business that could be very, very, very helpful to our industries here in Bellingham.
So just, Commissioner, more than a container yard, you're talking about a barge terminal
Right,
operation.
terminal side,
Barge
yeah.
container
Yeah.
terminal operation.
Correct.
You're talking barges, not ships.
Yeah,
Correct. So we did a study on this, and I will circulate it to the commission so the current commissioners, 'cause I don't believe Commissioner Robbins has seen it, nor Commissioner Briscoe. So this was studied with Bellingham Cold Storage, 2010, 2011 era, and I will circulate that study so that we can all be up to speed and talking from the same page on that. And then certainly another item I think that should be added to budget or strategic planning sessions, because this would obviously, this has got a big price tag on it.
right.
So Adam, you pulled up the image there. You want to do like a 1 minute on sort of background for that?
Yes, the assignment I was given was to evaluate this 5-acre piece here. This, just for everyone's orientation, this is at the north end of our harbor. This is Mount Baker Products, and this is that peninsula there bounded by Squalicum Creek and Little Squalicum Creek. So we were asked to look into this 5 acres and determine the feasibility of putting a barge loading facility here. And to cut to the quick, there's quite a range in prices from about $7 million to about $25 million. And the big variable are these sediments here. The way to basically, it's a very shallow little bay. To dredge it is very expensive. So we looked at the possibility of not dredging it, but bringing the pier out further to get out into this deep water that Doug Thomas mentioned earlier, that I believe is being dredged right now. But that's the short story. It's an unimproved site. It doesn't have any utilities, but it sure looks like it should be something, given its water venue there.
So in that, the study that Rob just mentioned, I think that only covered this particular location, is that correct?
Someplace there's a study looking at alternative locations. Sylvia and I can try and dig that up and recirculate it.
Well, we can certainly utilize, we're making investments in the shipping terminal side here, where we've got 2 opportunities that we're going to be working on soon, not including the pier and the wharf.
I think that was leaning more towards looking at the north terminal. We've already got a loading facility there. I mean, it's, the other place is too much environmental work to deal with. That's why the cost is so high. I mean, I recognize that. But in my mind, we need to do something.
That's interesting. Rob, that was something I wanted to have a conversation with you and the other commissioners about soon, about shipping terminal stuff, especially with Bobby coming on. So let's just make a plan to do that soon.
Yeah, we're going to shoot for a strategic planning session here in March. I'm sorry? March 30th. There we go. We're trying to find a date that worked for everyone. I think we've landed on March 30th. So that'll be we'll put that on one of the topics.
That's it? Any further?
Got some more?
Keep going.
This has to do with the Blaine Marina, or our Blaine Harbor. We've got the Blaine Marina main store buildings and the company buildings that were owned by Blaine Marina. I'd like to look into the port taking ownership of those buildings and possibly using the main building as a fuel dock office or other offices also. And if we do have a fuel dock, oil product storage there or storage for other things. The other small buildings are there. We do not have a port maintenance building in Blaine. What we're using currently is 2 web lockers. If we took these buildings and we turned one of them into a maintenance building, we would free up two of the web lockers currently used up there for port tenants to use or tenants to lease. I think it's time we try and utilize our existing structures and move forward to help strengthen Blaine's economy. And this is one of the ways to get another way, besides the demolition of the other building, to get things moving ahead there. The other thing, and Brad Flank's here, because I kind of have a question for him. We're currently leasing the Blaine Marina buildings and we don't own them. And I don't know quite how that works. I'm not sure how it works legally for us or Blaine Marina. Also, for insurance purposes, who's liable for accidents in those buildings?
I don't know I'd have to look at the documents. Maybe Shirley knows this.
Shirley's coming.
Thank you. Shirley McFerrin, Real Estate Director. We do have a settlement agreement with Blaine Marina and a lease that was drafted, or a document that was drafted by Frank Schmelick's office that allows us to lease those buildings.
Okay, yeah, no, I just was curious, and I see other
No,
people
that's-
in there, and I'm just curious how this is all working out, because I know we don't own the buildings, but we're leasing them on a month-to-month basis.
Yeah,
So,
and we'll take a look at ownership of buildings 2 and 3. We'll take a hard look at that.
Yeah, because I'd like to take possession of that, those
Which
buildings if we
buildings?
can, as soon as possible.
Buildings 2 and 3,
where are
and
they
they
on
are
this?
being leased right now.
Point them out on the map, Shirley, if you can. Just get the cursor over them.
Let's see, this building here. See my cursor? Okay, and then we have this building.
The building you just pointed to, the first one's the tent, is it
Right.
not?
You gotta,
The wrong way.
you gotta go up to the left there, sure, there you go, those two aluminum-looking buildings, no, that's Starfish, there you go, those 3 buildings right there.
Right, so right now, we have this building and this building on a month-to-month lease with Drayton, which we can terminate with 30 days' notice, and he's using just a small portion of it. And then the building 1 lease, we're going to demo and follow up to our last meeting.
I thought the lease said that he tears the buildings down or we get them for free.
The lease says the lease says he tears the buildings down, and if he doesn't, then we tear them down, and we charge him back for the cost for tear down.
Does the lease not allow us to keep the buildings?
Yeah, the lease does allow us to keep the building, but our letter a few months ago took possession of only building 1. We said we didn't want building 2 and 3 because they were a part of the contamination, and that we also said that we didn't want the fuel docks. The fuel tanks, but we took the 2 docks. So we picked and choose what we liked best about the property. And we can certainly go back and look at, taking additional property on.
And there's a liability with some contamination under the buildings, which is why it was decided not to pursue ownership of those.
That's exactly right. So that would be something we'd want to work with legal counsel on.
Point out the building that's going to be coming down. Building 1 is the dark building there?
Right here.
Right there, okay.
Can you see that? I'm sorry,
Yep.
I can't see if you, okay.
In the
And that building will come down, we estimate a cost of about $150,000 that we would bill back to Blaine Marina. And I have talked to Mr. Dodd about doing the interim fueling, and he has decided not to do that. He indicated it was not profitable for him to do the fueling in the past, and he has decided to pass on putting that back into commission, which is too bad because I thought it could be an easy way to do it.
So he has a lease in these other 3 buildings up above, but he hasn't, we've taken him back, but we really haven't because of the contamination, but he's not leasing them, he's not making a monthly payment.
That's correct, and
But
that's why
he's still on the hook for them, but we're subletting them?
we're subletting them. And at the end of the day, perhaps if we take in revenue, which I will tell you is really minimal, that when we take down building 1, for example, we can take the revenue that we have received from the lease of those buildings and apply it to the cost and be fair to our tenant at the end of the day. That's our goal.
So there's no purchasing of those buildings by the port. We just take them back over, but then we're liable for the contamination.
That's correct. So we, under the terms of the lease, we can take back the buildings at our option, but when you do that, we have to work through legal to make sure that we're not taking the liability along the way.
Does he have insurance?
Mr. Dodd does not.
So we're not going to get any money either way.
That is likely true.
So my point was, I'd like to put those buildings to use. They're there, and with the Matka situation, we don't know what we're doing for in the interim here. I think we need to put that stuff to use.
Okay, we will
A little
take
better than it is.
We'll take a hard look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, as far as speed limit changes on the roads in Blaine, the main road going down there, I don't know if do we have input on that?
Who owns the road?
I believe it's a public road. Yeah, actually, it's a public road.
City owns the road, the state. state
Well,
has
I had a
for
meeting
the-
this morning with, one reason I'm bringing this up with the mayor and the city,
Manager David Wilbrick.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about that speed limit from that water crossroads at the waterfront or the water plant there, going south and west, all the roads involved, including port roads and city roads, should be at 15 miles an hour. Now they've got that children's play area in there. And one of the other things I'd like to bring up is we have the old pier there, just up the road from Sound Pacific Seafoods. It's got the crane on it, the old over just, that'd be north of the monkey floats there, the Monkey Island. Next, yeah, right there. So there's a loop that goes around. They tried to make a loop. The walkway comes down along the harbor and goes over the road and stops at the road. And then their sidewalk or trail comes around the other way and stops at the road there. At some point when we're redoing the road out there, I would like staff to think about that we need a sidewalk from Sound Pacific Seafoods there all the way to our marina parking lot. All you've got there now is a gravel edge of the road to walk on. Yeah, and we've got it's pretty heavy foot traffic along there. I know I spend a lot of time up there when I'm not gone, but I think that's our property, I believe, on the edge of that. Is that correct?
I can speak to that. Sylvia Goodwin. That is actually within the city's right-of-way. The port and city have jointly done the study on the Marine Drive alternatives. All of the alternatives have a sidewalk on that, along that side of the road.
That goes
So-
between where I spoke
Yeah,
to?
it goes all the way from where the existing sidewalk ends by the park, all the way to the end on all of the 4 alternatives. So as soon as the city is still getting some additional public input, they've got a meeting at the senior center and a meeting at the Semiahmoo Men's Club. As soon as we get those meetings done, we'll come back to you with the results of what we found out and a little more information for you to give us input on the alternatives. But all of them involve a sidewalk, and even if there's not vehicle lanes, there will be a sidewalk.
Okay. Thank you, Sylvia. The dock there, speaking to the pier, I know that it structurally is not, you can't use it for unloading and back trucks out and so on and so forth. But my question is, or what I would like to see we consider doing there is take the top off of that dock that's there now, replank it suitable for foot traffic and observation by folks, and put a couple picnic tables or whatever there so folks can come across from the park and sit there and observe what's going on in the harbor. And it just kind of adds to places for people to do things in our harbor there. The pilings are there. What it would cost to redeck that, I'm not sure, but if you're doing it for foot traffic use, I can't imagine it would be that much. But that, and if a crosswalk goes in there, our sidewalk goes down to our parking lot, that completes the loop they started to try and complete up there or build. So that's just some things I'd like folks to kind of think about.
So, yeah, another good one to add to a future budget planning session. So we'll start to develop numbers as to what that is and have more discussions.
Adam, this might be a Norm question, but are you familiar with have we done a pilot survey on that particular little pier?
We have not. We do condition surveys on all of our facilities. However, this one is, I honestly don't know the history of that float. I love the commissioner's idea, and we can add it and get it looked at and figured out.
It was privately owned, Adam. Holy Hansen and Denny Donor privately owned that for years. I forget the name of the company they had. And I believe the port, excuse me?
IT, independent producers.
Okay. Did we take that float over that dock over from them? Okay. That's what I thought. They were the last owners to own that. So it was a private pier for a long time.
I think that might be our only private pier. I can't think of any other privately owned pier in the port.
Dahl CPAC had the one next to Sound Pacific. Yeah, that old one there was the Dahl Seafoods. They call it CPAC dock. I believe it was privately owned too, if I'm not mistaken. One more thing. Over on not for you, Adam, I'm sorry. over on C Street, we kind of need to take a hard look at our buildings and our infrastructure over there. There's some issues, and I was over there this winter, and I had some work done there, some fabrication. We've got boat builders working, and they're building new boats for Bristol Bay and so on and so forth. And some of the conditions those guys are working in, as far as the water running through everything and coming through the roofs and so on and so forth, and you're standing welding in water isn't a very good deal. But it appears to me, with talking to the folks, not the Sternhagens of the Colony Wharf, but the actual people that are building the boats in there, they're going to need some bigger buildings. And one of the questions put to me is if we can put a bigger building and add another larger building in there for boat building in that area, as opposed to them going into the county, because that was their option. They're going to have to go in the county somewhere and figure out where to build boats. So we have some interest in having another larger building over there from tenants. And I'm hoping we can address that somehow and maybe accommodate, because I believe the folks that are building those boats are going to be around for a while, and they're very good fabricators, and they're a big plus to our marine trades area over there, as far as people can go there and get things fabricated.
Yeah, so we would be happy to follow up with those tenants that you talked with. And if we get the Meridian Pacific property, that may be an option too, because there's additional buildings there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Shirley.
I like the fact that we are going to put all this in with our annual budgeting, because there's a lot of projects that we're talking about here, and there's a scope of them, and we need to prioritize which of these we want to do. So I'm glad to see that we're going to tie it in with our budgeting process, because that's where we should be bringing all these up and deciding which ones we want to do and which ones we can do, which ones we can get any money for, which ones we can't, to help prioritize it.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. That's an excellent point. We obviously are coming into what will be the historical lows from a cash balance perspective because of the cleanups we have ongoing. We amassed a lot of cash in the bank, but we're burning through it very quickly. We knew that was coming. It's something we planned for. It's not a surprise. But cash management is going to be an ongoing concern for the rest of 16 and for 17, and we start to climb out of it in 18. The other problem we have, everything's about resources, and our resources are too. We have cash and we have people. Norman Gilbert has given his notice. He's going to go work for the Port of Tacoma. Yeah, he'd rather live in Tacoma than in Whatcom County. So he's going to, I know, can you believe that?
He's taking a pay cut too, right?
And he's a kook too, so he was thinking clearly right up till the point he thought he was going to Tacoma. But so we're a little short-handed with a couple folks leaving the engineering department. Adam is going to be our most senior guy in the engineering department by a long shot. The next guy has been with us for what, 4 months? 3 months. So yeah, we've got some hiring to do and to get back up to full speed on that. So just asking a little patience on some of these projects. We don't quite have the resources we did 6 months ago.
Well, and
If you don't ask, you don't get them, right?
I'm not faulting anyone for asking. I was just asking.
Adam's only been in the position he's had now for less than a year, so let's throw it all on him at once, huh?
And this would be for Adam under it's old new business, Adam. I'm still interested in the feasibility of having our own pile bucks and our own crew to take care of some of our stuff.
It's on our list of things to work up some numbers for you.
Okay, very good.
We also have the Sawtooth. The Sawtooth will come sooner. I think we're planning to do the Sawtooth on March 1st. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we will get a presentation on the Sawtooth and Blaine on March 1st. We'll try and get numbers together for the crew and the pile driving stuff after that.
Okay, thank you. Once again, I thank staff for their efforts. I really do. And that, yeah, that's all for now.
All right. Dan?
I don't have anything.
I'm worn out. I was just listening. Okay. Rob, anything further? I don't. All right. Tamara? Frank?
Are you going to go back into executive session?
Yes.
So you need to
Absolutely.
adjourn the meeting into an executive session. The length of the executive session and whether action will or will not be taken after you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Senior staff? Anybody? Members of the public? All right, so we're going to recess to continue our executive session from earlier in a discussion about our boathouse fire. I don't think we'll take more than about 45 minutes. That would be, I think, on the outside of it. There was a couple of questions that didn't quite get answered. So after that, we will return here for an official adjournment of this meeting.
So no actions in this meeting.
Absolutely no action. No.